and yes, it's another episode of Smart Heals. And in case you are just joining us for the first time, Smart Heals is a show where we feature female professionals who are doing excellently well in their careers with a view to enabling you viewers to learn one or two things and of course inspire you to be better at what you do. I'll leave Benny to do the introduction of our special guest on the show today. Benny,
hi guys, thank you for joining us on another edition of Smart Heals. Today we have a very, very special guest, and when I say special, I mean very special. Her name is Dupe Akinsiun. She's the head of leadership and culture at Coca-Cola Hellenic, and she's a John Maxwell life coach. Hello, Dupe. Nice having you on the program today.
Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you so much for having me, and of course, thanks to all our viewers who are watching. Right, I commend Kenny and Benny for the great work they are doing. I mean, I wish I had something like this at the time I was starting, you know, but it's not too late, you know, for anyone who desires to jumpstart a career in HR, or you're at the beginning and you're trying to find your way out. Don't worry, these beautiful ladies are here to sort you out, so you'll be fine.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dupe. So can you quickly share with us how your journey in HR has been so far?
Oh, wow. Okay, so I would say it's been an interesting one. I would say that HR for me is more of a calling than a career. It's more of a calling. I have a background in chemical engineering, so I didn't set out growing up thinking I was going to be an HR person. And I also did not get into HR by accident. It's an intentional journey that I have loved and enjoyed. So my journey started, you know, as a final year student of chemical engineering in OAU. I remember I was in a class where we talked about environmental engineering, and you know, one of the things we discussed in that particular lecture were explosions that have happened in the chemical industry. And we looked at two cases in particular, one in India in 1984, another one in Ukraine in 1985. These explosions were as a result of poorly managed human resources, right? And that got me thinking. I mean, if you want to read about it, the first impact on a lot of things, including your bottom line. Do you understand what I mean? So for these particular case studies we looked at, they were in court from 1984 till like the early 2000s, right? And they paid huge amounts of money. So it's easy for us as HR to say the cost of rehiring, the cost of boosting morale, the cost of, you know, but really I was able to see live, even as a student, where I did not know there was anything called HR, what can go wrong when people are not properly managed, right? Yes. And so that triggered a curiosity in me. And I remember then asking people around, I'm looking for something that deals with people. I'm looking for something that can help us. You know, for me, I didn't know anything like that existed. I didn't think anybody could, you know, I don't want to say make a living, because my focus was not even on making a living. It was about salvaging a situation I thought was very important and crucial. So I started my career as an HR analyst with a company in Nigeria called Kimberly Ryan, as a pre-NYSC. And so I was your analyst. I would do recruitment. I will handle all sorts of stuff, call candidates and all that. Immediately, I saw an opportunity with PricewaterhouseCoopers. I thought it was a better platform. It was an opportunity for me to handle, you know, more and maybe bigger projects. So I moved into PwC. So I would say that for the initial part of my career, I was a consultant, and that gave me a good foundation into understanding the broad spectrum of human resources. What we sometimes see is, you know, when people ask me, is it good to start, you know, from consulting or industry? I would say that consulting is usually a good start for you to have a well-rounded exposure to human resources, right? You're able to deal with stakeholders, you're able to deal with briefs, even engagements in themselves, and, you know, across different sectors or different aspects of HR. So doing that for like 5 years, I began to desire the generalist experience. So in human resources, you can either be a consultant, you can be a generalist, you can be a specialist. So I wanted the industry experience. And so I moved from consulting to financial services, where I was the HR manager at the time, and I was the only one in my unit. And so that helped me. I remember at the time I handled mergers and acquisition. I handled setting up a performance management framework for the organization I worked with. Well, I could do those things because I was coming from consulting. You know, I had understanding of what mergers and acquisitions were, what it meant to have a competency framework, what it means to have an effective performance management. So I was able to come with a consultant mindset to set up systems and structures in place, you know, coming up with policies, coming up with things that would help them drive the human resources strategy, not only drive strategy, but you know, help achieve business outcomes. So I moved on from there to, you know, an HRBP role. Now, HRBP and HR manager are both generalist positions, but the business partnering gives you an opportunity to even be more strategic. It helps you to understand, in a sense, they are the same, but business partnering helps you further understand or appreciate, you know, the business you're supporting.
Takes you closer to the business.
Absolutely. You know, it takes you closer to the business, understand the people and all that. So I was able to get that exposure in AstraZeneca across, you know, multiple countries in sub-Saharan Africa. And I would say that currently I'm now a specialist. So I've moved from consulting to being a generalist, and now I am a specialist. So
yes, we are with you. All right. Thank you, Dupe, for that expose. Yes.
Very, very, very interesting journey you've had. In fact, you've moved from every area of HR, and that is really, really great. So can you tell us, give us examples of the highs and the lows you've experienced in this journey you just mentioned?
Wow. So I would say, you know, the highs for me would be, you know, that feeling you get from understanding what your client's issues are, or understanding what the business needs are, and being able to come up with, you know, relevant solutions that address those specific problems. It feels good, you know, to be able to solve real problems, whether it's from the employee's perspective or from the business perspective. It just makes you feel good, you know. At the time where you handle recruitment as well, being able to place people in jobs that suit them, their experience, their background, their desires and all that, you know, it gives you all that feeling like you're really, really making a difference. And I think HR is one of the professions, few professions in the world where you can actually have direct impact on people, right? And it just makes you feel good. I love to make a difference, and, you know, it gives me that high. But the low moments for me will be times where the employees you're even trying to help in that sense, because we are all employees at the end of the day, when they do not even understand you or where you're doing, what you're doing, and then they feel like you're their problem, right? I mean, you see a lot of people on LinkedIn where I'm telling you, where you can relate, right? I'm telling you, where. So I remember there was a company I worked for, and, you know, they did not have NHF. They were not making NHF remittances. They were not making pension remittances. So I got in there and I'm like, guys, this is not acceptable. We have to do this. Beyond compliance, you need to have a savings. If anything happens, you need to have a retirement savings account. But guess what? Because it meant salary, their take home was going to be reduced. Dupe has become our enemy, you know, but what did you know? You know, what they did not realize that was that I had gotten an approval to actually buffer their salaries as a result of that. So the rumor that spread to them was Dupe wants to reduce our salaries, and that became the feeling. I'm telling you, you know. But looking back, I remember in that particular organization where we had to restructure people, and they realized that they had savings in pension because I insisted. There were those who called me to say, Dupe, thanks for making this happen. There were people there who had 2 years backlog of pension. I said, you're not going to carry this over. You're going to pay this pension. And you will not only pay, I will make the company pay. So I stood my grounds to ensure those things happened. There were times I was called Killjoy. There were times people called me names. But I did not allow that or those kind of comments to distract me from the good I needed to do and from even the right, that I needed to do. So I'm happy looking back. Everything just adds up to the experience, right? So it's
yes. Everything adds up to the experience, and they make you who you are today.
Absolutely.
I'm happy to hear that. Like you said, HR is a career where you have to balance on a very tight rope, and at every point in time, you just have to be able to stand your ground as long as you're able to maintain your objectivity.
Absolutely.
So, Dupe, because you've been blazing a trail in this career, and you're wondering how is Dupe balancing all of this with our life in general. So, how does work-life integration work for you? How has it been so far?
I like how you called it. It's work-life integration, not work-life balance. Work and life can never balance, and it's not for life. That most likely will not happen. So what I try to do, or what I've come to realize, is the beauty of having a vision for your life. At the end of the day, the question is, who do you want to be known for? I want my life to inspire. I don't just want to share inspiring, articles. I just don't want to. I want my life in itself to be an inspiration to many. So I ask myself, what would that mean? How does that translate into my everyday actions? So it helps me prioritize what are the things that are important to me. Now, the truth is, at every point in your life, not everything will be important and urgent at the same time. So I have identified the different, when we say work and life in itself is broad. There are different elements or dimensions and expressions of life. So you need to be able to define what does life mean for me in specific terms. So there's a man, one of my role models, his name is Michael. He said there are 10 dimensions of life. One of them is your work, one of them is your social life, one of them is your spiritual life, the intellectual, the emotional, the social impact, or what you call maybe ministry for some people, volunteering, your financial, your parental, your marital, and then there's this last one that is not coming to me now, right? I will think about that later, So those dimensions, so when you say work is just one leg of it. So looking at the remaining 9, the question is, how important are they to you? I'm not going to tell anybody that when you wake up in the morning, you need to pray. If prayer is not important to you, that's fine. It's you. You need to determine what is priority for you. What are those things that you never don't want to go back home at night and sleep, and then you'll be like, oh my God, I didn't fulfill all my important to-dos for today. So I'm able to identify things that are important to me, right? God is important to me, my family. Okay, we're back. Don't worry. Everything is going to merge and become one. So I identify what is important to me. 5 things are important to me. God is important to me. My family is important to me. My making extra source of income is important to me. Building a brand that inspires is important to me. My wellness is important to me. So all these 5 things, I try to ensure they happen. If it was the days when we used to go to work, I make sure that I do certain things in the morning before I step out, or when I come back at home, I'm able to do those things. There are things I do during work, like maybe call my husband, check up on the kids, find out how things are doing and all that. When I get back home, I connect with them. So it's really about understanding your seasons. There are times in your life, I remember there were times where I used to travel outside the country on assignments and all that. Maybe I'm gone for like 2 weeks. Every day, I still ensured I connected with my kids. I would do homework on Zoom with them, all those kind of things, just ensuring that I'm in touch. I'm a present mother. My kids are connected to me, even though I have a busy schedule, right? I'm a present mom. I try to be a present wife. My husband can judge whether I am or not.
We will ask him, Dupe.
In an area of improvement, I try to check from time to time. Guy, what do I need to do? Like this one, you need to improve. Okay, Okay, so I try to get feedback from all my stakeholders to know what is going on. So it's a continuous improvement. But one thing I would tell people is, for you to be able to integrate work and life, you need to be present. You need to be aware. Self-awareness is key. The reason why a lot of people realize that they've gone, invested all of their time paying attention to work is because when life was seeping away, they did not realize it. So until something happens before they come back. And it's not like I've always had it all figured out. There are times maybe I've dropped the balls, and I tell people, it's okay, don't beat yourself for dropping the ball. Sometimes you fall out. And we don't need to present a perfect picture. I'm not a perfect person. I'm not. And I will not try to give that impression. So that's why we have mentors in place. So my husband can call my attention. Dupe, you've gone that, okay, bring me back. Accountability. So you just need to keep, it's a work in progress. So that's what I would say, yeah?
Wow, thank you, Dupe, for that. You heard that, girlfriends. It's okay not to have it all together. Find your connector, according to what Dupe just shared with you. Identify that thing that is important to you and find ways to connect all the dots together.
Yes, and also try to have an accountability partner that can
right
when you are going the wrong way. Thank you so much.
So
I want to ask you a very, very interesting question. So if you're not a HR specialist or a life coach, what would you have loved to be?
That's what I would have loved to be. I'm still exploring my engineering.
Okay.
I'm still exploring. So let me tell you, I really don't think I've left. So in my mind, I'm not disconnected from my field, but hey, I still try in my, okay, do I?
It's been a while, we know.
Yeah. So sometimes it's like, should I, that, but I won't say that I'm as pulled in that direction as I love real estate. I love properties. I love investing money. I love making money. I love making money. So yes, that's
who doesn't love that.
I don't know the degree. I love making money.
Who doesn't love making money?
So let me tell you. So making money is different from having money. Some people don't mind, that you're at work, you're getting a big pay and all that, and that's okay. That's fine. My eyes are choking on what opportunities, if I invest this money in this, what returns, I have an Excel, I'm tracking my investment, I'm checking by 2020, this is how much this investment would have yielded. All those conscious, I'm very, very conscious of all those things.
A lot of deliberation are going into that.
You see what I mean? What can I invest money in that can give me that turnaround? If I invest in that, if I take this, money and put it here, I'm doing all of those calculations. If I'm not doing all these things I'm doing, I'm sure I'll be finding ways to multiply money.
All right.
So let me say building wealth, not making
wealth.
Yeah.
Okay, so girlfriends, if Dupe is not doing HR, she would have loved to be building wealth.
Find me in the money markets, man.
Yes.
And
also, doing more things with the engineering field.
Yeah.
Something came to my mind when you said that. Is there a way to integrate engineering with HR? Maybe use engineering processes to try to make your work as a specialist better.
Let me tell you, so at the time I did that course in environmental engineering, it was as if a light bulb went off in my head. And I remember going to meet my lecturer, like immediately after the class, I ran up to him like, sir, we've spent how many years in uni doing a lot of chemical engineering process related courses, and never did we study man. Man is the brain behind any process. So I was talking about, so people are behind processes that ultimately determine the product. So if you're looking at the quality of product out there, before you look at the process, look at the person behind the process, because the person behind the process determines the quality of the process, and the quality of the process will determine the quality of the output. So I went to him and said, sir, how come, is there anything human engineering, how come we never? And then he said, if you think there is a problem, why don't you go and solve it? And that was why it became a challenge for me. Now, that was how many years ago? But it wasn't until 2012, 2013, I said, wait a minute, this word that I asked about, this human engineering, because then there was no computer, there was no internet where I could check. So I Googled human engineering. Guess what? It's a field of engineering.
Wow.
So human engineering is a field. It's also called ergonomics. It's a field that actually considers people in the design of things that they use. So how your chairs are designed, whether for comfort, how your office, all those things are called human engineering. They are called ergonomics. So why should a laptop be in this shape? I'm using a laptop now. Why is it designed in this way? It's because I have been put into use. I've been put into thoughts, right? Before they design how. So every improvement, so it's called human engineering, and it's a beautiful field. So it's something, so that you can, in a way, you can say human, but then that doesn't totally capture all the things there are to human or to people. The other bit will be to work within an engineering field. That's how you can marry my skills as an HR person. And I'm currently working in an engineering company because Coca-Cola is a production company, it's a manufacturing company. So we run a lot of processes and all that. And that's why it's a thrill for me to be empowering our leaders, with capabilities that will not just drive our processes, but also equip them to be able to become people of influence in their own spaces. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Dupe. I definitely picked my learning from it. Ergonomics, the thinking that goes into how all of those things form into being.
Absolutely.
That's a good one for me today. I've learned something new. Before you go on the program today,
right.
So what advice do you have for young female professionals out there? What advice do you have for them?
So I would tell you, number one, the young shall grow. Yeah. One of the things that has helped me in positioning myself as an HR professional is the fact that I tell myself the people that I admire today, one day they are going to leave the scene. The question is, when they are leaving, am I qualified to take over from them? And so that puts me, so I'm not running my race like I'm competing with my peers. I'm running my race as someone taking over from those ahead of me. So it informs absolutely. When we keep thinking, I see a lot of people struggle. Sometimes, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm doing a lot of personal assessment of myself. I check some of my peers and I'm like, what do they have? What do we all have in common? Then what
level playing ground.
Then what do the people ahead of me have that my peers don't have, that I desire? Then I go for it. Because if I have the same things that my peers have, if you look at this PHR, this SHRM, recently somebody approached me to become a facilitator of PHR or SPHR or all those things. I'm like, I don't even know what the curriculum looks like anymore, because I did that almost 10 years ago. Right? I don't know. That was before PHRI, SPHRI came in. I did back as 10 years ago. I always try to be a step ahead. Now everybody has the same set of qualifications. The question is, what distinguishes you? So I'm looking at everybody, SPHRI, HR Clinicon, HRBP, PHRI. I'm like, you all look alike. Right? Why are you all why don't you look for hard to find skills, hard to find an experience and qualifications that sets you apart? That's where when you go for interviews and you're asked like, why should we hire you and not the other person? It's clear that I have what they do not have, and I'm bringing value they cannot bring. So you need to be able to check your market, find out what is common, then look for the uncommon. Don't do what every other person does. It makes you average. When you do what people are not doing, then that's what makes you outstanding. So that would be my word for them.
Awesome. Just awesome.
That's the word.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank you so much for joining us on the show today. And we hope you will answer us when we call on you again, Dupe.
I'll be honored too.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Really
I
appreciate
appreciate
you coming on board.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much.
So
we really learned a lot. We learned so much. Your last statement was really an eye opener, and I'm sure it to be one for the viewers listening as well. Girlfriends, take that advice. Don't be average. Don't look for something your peers do not have, and work on getting that so you can add more value.
Yeah, to be different.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Dupe.
you so much.
So, girlfriends, we've come to the end of today's show, and we are hoping and praying that you've learned one or two things from the conversation with Dupe Akinsiun. Next week is another date, Tuesday. You can follow us on our social media handles, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and you can download all of our videos on our YouTube channels using HR Girlfriends Tribe. Benny, you want to say bye to your girlfriends?
Yes, girlfriends. Remember, we are HR Girlfriends Tribe.
We learn, we leisure, and we network. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much, Dupe.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
All righty, bye.